Hello, my name is Shannon Adams, and today I will be performing a story about what we sometimes perceive as things being lost that we need to help them find their way, or actually things that we need to help us find what we need in life. So, this story is called Lost and Found, and it's by Oliver Jeffries. Once there was a boy who found a penguin at his door, and this penguin would follow the boy everywhere. And then one day, the penguin looked really, really sad. So the boy just felt like maybe he's lost. So he decided he would help the penguin. He took the penguin to the Lost and Found office to see if anybody had lost a penguin, but no one had lost a penguin. So the boy, he went home and, well, on his way home, he asked some birds, did they know where the penguin came from? And the birds just ignored the boy. They do that sometimes. So, as the boy continued on home and made it there, he asked his duck, did the duck know where the penguin had come from? Well, the duck just floated away, and well, because he didn't know. So, that night, the boy, he thought about it, and he could not sleep just because of disappointment of not being able to help the penguin for the day. So, he decided, I'm going to help the penguin find his way or get home. So the boy came up with an idea. The next morning, he went to the harbor and he asked a big ship if the ship could take them to the South Pole so the boy could help the penguin get home. Unfortunately, the boy's voice was so small that the ship couldn't hear him. So the boy had to think of another way. Well, he decided finally that together he and the penguin would row to the South Pole. So the boy pulled out his little rowboat and he began to test it for space and strength, just to see if him and Penguin would be able to fit and actually make it through rough times. And then as he finished to work on the boat, he would tell stories to the penguin just to pass time. So finally they finished the boat and they packed everything that they would need for their journey. And they got in the boat and they pushed it off to sea. And once they were on the sea, they traveled days and nights. And the boy would tell story after story. And the penguin, he listened to every word. So the boy would just tell more stories because the penguin would listen to all of them. And they rode through good weather and bad weather, high winds and big waves the size of mountains until finally, they saw the South Pole. They reached the South Pole and the boy was very excited. And as he was helping the penguin off of the boat, the penguin looked really sad again. And then, so the boy, he said his goodbyes and he pushed off to head home. And as he floated away, he looked back and he noticed that the penguin was standing there looking terribly sad. But the boy continued to float away, row home. And well, after a while, the boy started to feel a little strange. It was odd. It was no point in him telling stories because he didn't have anybody to listen to him. And well, except for the wind and the waves. And then the more the boy thought, the more he realized, wait a minute, I made a mistake. The penguin, he wasn't lost. He was just lonely. So at that point, the boy, he rowed as fast as he could, and he turned the boat around so that he could head back to the South Pole. But when he arrived at the South Pole, the penguin wasn't there where he left him. So the boy got off the boat and he began to look around, but the penguin was nowhere to be found. So sadly, the boy got back on his boat and he began to row home until in the distance he began to see something. He didn't know what it was, but the closer he got, he inched closer and closer as he rode. He noticed that it was the penguin. Oh, at that point they were so happy. They just hugged and finally they rode on home to the boy's house. And the boy realized that him and the penguin could be friends forever. And that's what they did. He realized that the penguin was not lost, but the penguin was simply lonely and needed a friend. And so did he. And so they lived happily ever after. The end. Thank you for listening to Lost and Found by Oliver Jeffries.